What's good, y'all? You already know what it is, baby. This is T Paris, aka the Young Marvin Gaye. This rap shit, most original, most creative, most in tune with the times, and I'm sort of like your inspiration. And this is P's Perspective, the recap. But let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it. Now, y'all know what we do at this time. I'm gonna ask that you please hit that like button. I'm gonna ask that you please hit the subscribe button. And the comments, man, please keep them comments coming because we greatly appreciate all the feedback. Now, this week, our topic of discussion was the touchy one. You know what I'm saying? Real controversial. And I appreciate the feedback. We got a lot more dialogue this week. And I don't want to waste no time, man. I want to get into the questions, get into the feedback, and get right into that heart-to-heart, man. We got a lot to talk about and discuss this week. So our topic was, do we as people of color have an inferiority complex? We had 3 questions that went along with the topic. Now, our first question was, will we ever see change in America, or is this forever our reality? Our second question, could you live with yourself if you saw a loved one killed by the police force? And our third question, if you could tell the youth one thing about your upbringing that made you proud to be black, what would it be? And our first question is coming straight out of Harlem. Ron Maybach, he said, I'm going to keep it honest, God. I see change for the worse. They rocking our people to sleep. I agree with that, man. It's a lot going on out there in the world, man, and I'm not sure we really paying attention. I appreciate that comment, King. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Brittany Cross. She said, things are getting worse. People think shit is a game, and they like to yell, let people do what they want, all while wearing red, white, and blue Air Max on the 4th of July. People don't want to change. They pulling the wool right over their eyes. They ignoring the strongholds, laughing my ass off, stupid shit. You got a point there, and I appreciate that. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Antoine Faharuddin Balous, and I apologize for, you know what I'm saying, messing up that name. He said, yes, we do. We set the ceiling too low in respects to what our potential capabilities are. Well, actually, there is no ceiling. I agree with you, man. Whatever we put our mind to, we can accomplish as people of color. We just got to start believing in ourselves and supporting one another. Appreciate that comment, beloved. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from George Graham. He says, show collabs. Give me a date. OG always want to put on the show, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for the love and support. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Robert English. He said, because the police are a terrorist group. The police are there to keep black people oppressed. They're in the black neighborhoods to protect the businesses and the property, not to help or fight crime. I've heard of a good cop, but I never met one, so my attitude is F the police, and that's all I gotta say. He make a strong point. Coming from where we come from, a lot of times our interaction with the police officers is not a positive one. And so a lot of times we keep those, you know what I'm saying, those memories stored away in our memory bank. So whenever we see the police, it's sort of like a trigger, you know what I mean? It's almost like we traumatized from all the stuff that we had to endure coming up. I appreciate that comment, brother. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Trisha Hopkins, the first person to go directly at the question. She said, for question number 1, we will see a change in America. We have to stay positive and educate ourselves and our children. I refuse to accept and believe that this will remain the same. Question number 2, anytime we see it on TV, I consider a loved one. It breaks my heart every time. And question number 3, I tell my son all the time how we as people are strong, how things are not handed to us. The obstacles are placed in our way, yet we get educations, we raise families, and we start businesses. Don't let the media paint a picture that we're criminals and we're not worthy. We are amazing kings and queens, and we are nowhere near done. Now your generation is next to carry the torch. Continue to improve our legacy. I appreciate that, and that's a strong message to the youth. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Norman Jenkins. He said, this is how I see it, fam. We as black people or African Americans are waiting for the government to repair us for the atrocities that our people have endured for centuries. Food for thought. It's roughly 40 million black people in America. What if every working black person in America had $20 bi-weekly come out their checks like taxes? That's $40 per month. All 40 million are not working. We know that for a fact. But this money annually will eventually fix that. Now that's reparations. For example, let the NAACP, who has been trying to fight our injustice for the last century lead the way. We can't worry about what if they do this or what if they don't with the funds. Because at this point, the government's main priority is not for uplifting the people. Let's talk about this example. Do the math and let's talk about this topic. I appreciate that, OG. And if that's something that you want to discuss, like I said, T Paris Music Group 1 at Gmail. Send those topics in, man. We want to discuss whatever's important to y'all. Toast to the town. The next comment comes from Tony Christ. He said, very profound. Your critical awareness allows you to be beautifully policed. What's taking place with human beings and their ill relationships to each other and the planet, we are disconnected from our natural identities via the Western idealism and cultural assimilation. And that notion of idea, there is indeed an inferiority complex latent in our subconscious. Great questions. However, I would only like to respond to the third one. The one thing about our upbringing that made me proud to be black, that I share with the youth for the youth, was my strength and struggles, the love and the pain and the beauty displayed in my mother. Because it was through her pain I recognized my good, my godhood. I appreciate that. That was a deep comment, man. He spoke a lot. You know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate the compliments. And I just want to let y'all know this one of my mentors, man. So he helping me to sharpen this blade and bring this information to y'all on a weekly basis. You know, I want to give a blessing to his moms, like as I said before. And I say to him always, man, he done dealt with a lot of painful, you know what I'm saying, atrocities in his life, a lot of hardships. And for him to show so much resilience and so much love and passion towards his mom, that's powerful, man. I appreciate that. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Microphone Bully TV. He said, new growth. We appreciate that, King. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Mookie 135th. He said, spot on. We appreciate that, King. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Hip Hop Chef DR. He said, July 19th, the doctor needs you 1,000,000%. Pull up, God. Militant Mindset. Talk to the people. Harlem Fair Part 1. Bob Black. You invite me to come out and speak to the people July 19th, man. We really appreciate that. I'm going to get back with you behind the scenes, brother. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Loyalty Always. Lady Loyalty Always. 2016, the FBI verified the KKK have been infiltrating the local police departments throughout the U.S. They don't give a fuck about who we are. And they don't give a fuck about who they policing. I really didn't understand where you was coming from with the comment. And I probably should have asked. But when I received the comment, it kind of slipped my mind at that time. So I want to say I apologize for that. If you see this, I hope that you could just explain a little bit more in depth where you was going with it. I don't want to disagree. I don't want to agree. Because I wasn't 100% sure. But I appreciate you chiming in and I appreciate you paying attention. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Mama White. She said you hitting right on the head there. You hitting right on the head there with this one. She said I'll take the second question personally because I lost my youngest. Hold on. I apologize, man. I got those comments mixed up. The first one is Mama White. She said you hitting it right on the head there. It's a lot of people, young and old, that need to hear this. And I appreciate the share. I appreciate that, Mama. And I want to let you know, you don't never got to ask if you can share. You know what I'm saying? It's always good. Anytime we got information for the people, that's for us to share with everybody. I appreciate you and I love you. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Diane Breed. He said, I'll take the second question personally because I lost my youngest brother, Dion Floyd, back in 2013 due to alleged police brutality. I say alleged because they say my brother was hit by a train. But Dion lived long enough after to tell his family that he wasn't hit by a train. Pardon me. And it was the police that rendered him a quadriplegic. He told me on his deathbed that people needed to know his story. At the time, I was connected to people who stood by Al Sharpton's side often. They asked if I wanted the involvement. But I had little faith in Al Sharpton. I had little faith in myself. I had little faith in YouTube, fearing my criminal past. I couldn't be the proper spokesperson for my brother in public. I did make a YouTube video stating his side of the story. We're still looking for justice in this matter. I do believe in justice. I don't believe in premeditated murder. This situation has been most traumatic. And so I asked, what do you mean when you ask could a person live with themselves seeing a loved one hurt or worse from police brutality. Yo, I appreciate that comment. I want to, send my deepest regards to your brother. I want to send a shout out to anybody who's lost somebody to police brutality. And to answer your question, what I was saying is, if you physically was there to see somebody, killed by a police officer, especially a loved one, because you live with yourself. And the reason why I asked that question is because I feel like we as people of color are all connected. We are family, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And a lot of times when the police is out there and they aggressively going at us, you got to know that that's potentially what could happen. And I just want to know, is it important enough to us to intervene? Or do we want to just continue to pull out the cameras and record and be the first ones to make everybody aware of what's going on? Yo, I appreciate your comment, man. And again, my condolences to your brother. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Brian Brown. He said, powerful topic. I appreciate you, King. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Sean Dixon. He said, yo, I need that link. I appreciate that, brother. I sent that to him too, by the way. Toast to the town. Now, if I could just break down what we was talking about a little bit this week. We broke it down into 3 different categories when we speaking about, being inferiority, as a whole, as people of color. And the 3 categories you broke it down was physical, mental, and spiritual. Now, physically, we spoke about what it is to be in a community and the energy that we show one another, but that same energy not being present when the police come around. Mentally, we spoke about how fear has been embedded in us for so long. We spoke about the slave masters tying half our body to a horse and the other half to a tree and the horse darting off. We spoke about rape. We spoke about molestation. We spoke about the emasculation of men in front of our families. And spiritually, we spoke about how the oppressor gave us a religion. And if religion was supposed to be a way of life, the blueprint to life, then how could we think that our oppressor would voluntarily give us this out or this, this way to succeed and become successful in life? I thought that these 3 ways of breaking it down was important because oftentimes when you think about life, these are the ways that we're developing, physically, the way we grow, mentally, the way we grow, and spiritually, the way we grow. Now, all of these things are interconnected. Mentally, it affects the way that we see the world, the way we, interact with one another in society. Spiritually, the way that we believe or how we have faith in things. And physically, just, the way that you engage with other people. You know what I'm saying? How you protect yourself and things like that. Now, something that, always come up when we talk about, people of color and police brutality is black on black crime. Now, we got into a real huge debate about black on black crime. And I had, asked the question. And in my question, I had asked more questions. Now, my initial question was, when we speak about black on black crime, what do you think that it, originates from? And I asked, do you think it's the absent father? Do you think it's the unfit mother? Do you think it's the street or gang culture? Or do you think it's a systematic approach? Now, when we collectively started speaking about it, for the most part, the vast majority agreed that it was a systematic approach. But a lot of people, tend to feel like it was education that was missing, or the lack thereof education that's missing. So I'm going to touch on that, but I just want to break down, the systematic approach, because sometimes I think that when we don't comprehend what something is, then we tend to just go with something emotionally. We're not dealing with logic. And so a system is a continual routine or procedure, right? So an example would be, let's say when we go to welfare and they make you take a number, or you go to DMV and they make you take a number, and then you wait for your number to pop up, and then you go to window to window until you get a chance to get to the person that's going to eventually take care of whatever it is that you're going to take care of. That's a procedure. That's a process. However, it's been said, when we deal with the welfare department, a lot of times they take their time with this process because they want to deter you from coming here. So they often give you a hard time as you moving around to get to the last, you know what I'm saying, the last person. You know what I'm saying? That's part of a system. A lot of times that system is made to help break us down. We need these benefits, some of us. So why would they give us a hard time to come and get this government assistance? An approach is the way that we go about doing something. So again, the systematic approach is the continual routine or the continual procedure that we go about doing to get a certain type of response or a certain type of outcome. And oftentimes, you know, the outcome is to keep us in a certain space. It's never for us to continue to climb the ladder. And so when we talk about the systematic approach, we got to talk about different institutions, right? An institution is basically just an organization or society that is founded for religious, education, or something social or something along those lines. And some examples would be church, you know, jail or prison, the school, you know, the police force, you know, or different entities that are funded by the government. Now, when we mention funded by the government, anything that is funded by a group or funded, you know, for a certain purpose, more times than not, whoever's spending that money is going to have total control of what's going on. So if all of these institutions or these systems, so to speak, are funded by the government, then guess who they cater to? You understand what I'm saying? A lot of times, the narrative is passed down from the government, who also controls the mass media, which pushes the narrative. You know what I'm saying? So now, when we speak about the education is not just academic. Education also falls under, you know, how we adapt to doing different things. You know, how we go about, you know, our daily living. You know what I'm saying? Independent living skills. You know what I'm saying? Something like going to get welfare, you know, so you can feed your kids. Or going to get an ID so that when you get stopped by the police in the street, that you could go. But like I said, if they're giving you a hard time and harassing you when you're going to do these things, then don't you think that they're trying to hold you back? They're trying to prevent you from doing the things that you need to do? In some ways, they stunting our education process, right or wrong. Furthermore, when you think about the household, of course, the house is where education starts. But you assuming that every parent came from a solid household. You know what I'm saying? They had a solid upbringing. Sometimes our mothers and our fathers already came from, you know what I'm saying, ruined situations too. Uninspiring households, you know, drugs, single parent homes, the government assistance when the men weren't allowed to be in the household. And so this just continued to be a cycle. And if that's the cycle and you sitting here and saying, well, you know, I was able to overcome it, why shouldn't they be able to overcome it? Are you taking time to think about the trauma that has been embedded in us from generation to generation? Come on now. Now, we could tie this right on in with the black on black crime ideology. When we talk about black on black crime, again, you talking about a system that has prohibited us from being able to expand for years on top of years. When you talk about jobs, for a long time, women weren't able to work. Men weren't able to work. We wasn't allowed to work in the same places where, you know what I'm saying, where Caucasians was working. Even today, yo, you could have the same education, work at the same job, doing the same thing, but not get the same amount of money. Come on now. That's what education. That's the system, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of the stuff that we dealing with today is stuff that systematically, you know what I'm saying, been holding us back for a long time. And so it's not as easy just to say, oh, well, I got through it, so you should be able to get through it. Another thing, you know, that I want to touch on with the black on black crime, and this one right here, you know what I'm saying, might be a little bit touchy. The news posted an article this week, and if you go on Instagram, you know, I'll try to post a picture on my page later so I could bring this point full circle, right? And what happened was this man was walking across the street with his daughter, and somebody pulled up and shot him. Now, his daughter was traumatized. You see her running, you know, frantic. I want to say rest in peace to that man. You know, God bless that little girl and that family. And that definitely wasn't right. And right away, you heard people jumping on, you know, black on black crime. Now, two things. One, I don't think they, you know, found out who did that, why that happened. None of that. But if you look at the video, at least for me anyway, for me, the way the car pull up, it looked like a police car. The way that arm came up out that window and just one shot, bang, and they sped off, to me, it looked like a professional job. Now, I'm not saying that it's not, you know, hired hitmen and, you know what I'm saying, killers out there to get busy because of experience. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is people of color, we be so quick to jump to a conclusion without any information. Now, paying attention to everything that's going on in the world, when we are at war, you know, a lot of times the government will infiltrate our communities and do the job, you know, of the oppressor for us. And when I say do it for us, it's like they look just like us and they blame us for something that we didn't do. Look at Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X was allegedly killed by, you know, people of color. Somebody that looked just like him. And so I say that to say, sometimes they paying moles. And sometimes it's the police department that's doing it themselves. But we blaming ourselves. We pointing blame at each other. And a lot of times we don't even know the backstory. You know what I'm saying? So let's say it was somebody of color that did it to him. Do you think that people of color just walking outside and they just like, yo, I want to kill somebody, and just walking up to somebody and just shooting them? I don't think so. I think the police are coming out and they got a lot of aggression on their heart and they like, you not listening? Bang. And they shooting us. And so I got a hard time when we compare these two things like it's, you know, apple and an apple, when really it's an apple and an orange. It's not really the same thing. And so it's disheartening to us when all we keep saying is, damn, we doing it to ourselves. Think about some of the stuff that I pointed out. We've been conditioned to live a certain way. And so in our communities, a lot of time when we dealing with these issues, you know, the way we deal with them oftentimes has been violently. I'm not excusing the violence in no way, shape, or form. But what I am saying is you don't really know what happened in that situation to push that man to that level. You know, a lot of times you don't know what somebody dealing with until they sit down and tell you. And so I say that to say sometimes, you know, one mistake could be your last mistake. Sometimes you pushing people to the brink of insanity. And that's the way that they respond to it. But it's not our fault. This is some of the repercussions of the system, you know what I'm saying, that we live a part of. You know what I'm saying? It's a cold fact that a lot of what we're dealing with has already been predetermined. That they did this with this outcome. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put drugs in a community because I want to see them go to jail. I'm going to show them, you know, fast cars and jewelry and fast women to make them think that this is the way out. Come on, y'all. Now, I want to end this on something different, man. I want to say it's positive, but I'm not really sure it's positive, you know, seeing all these young black men out there, you know, getting gunned down. And some of these, you know, young black women getting gunned down too, because it's not just men. You know, the bullet don't discriminate. But I want to give a rest in peace shout out to Kenny Brown from Wagner. You know, all day I've been seeing my family and friends post this picture online. And it's just disheartening that the last couple of days, every day we wake up, you know, we see somebody, you know, gunned down from senseless gun violence. Shout out to that young man, Brandon, you know, from the Bronx. They had a basketball tournament for him yesterday, you know, memorial event. I want to send my condolences to him and every other, you know, person gunned down from senseless gun violence. Yo, we got to do better. We definitely got to do better. But I really don't have the answer on how we going to do better. What I will promote, though, we got to start loving each other. And sometimes showing love to one another is just being able to ask, yo, you all right? Is everything okay? You got, you know, loved ones out here that's got something positive going for themselves. It's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call them and let them know, yo, it's time to go inside, man. Yo, we in a pandemic right now. Ain't nothing going on outside. Ain't nothing going on outside. I know we tired of being locked up in the house. I'm tired of being in the house too. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be a picture on somebody's social media, you know, with the letters RIP beside my name. And so I pick and choose, you know what I'm saying, when to go outside and, you know, and do the things that, you know, I enjoy doing. And like I said, I know that this is touchy. I don't want this to come off like I'm telling people, you know, it's your fault for going outside. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying until we can find a resolution, until we start spreading more love, I'm just challenging you to keep your loved ones close, man. Keep them close. I love y'all, man. I want better for all of us. And sometimes these topics that we having, you know, they touchy for a reason. And so we can start thinking critically about what we want for our lives, you know, what we want for ourselves. It's not fair for us to sit here and continue to cry out, you know, black on black crime, but we're not out here trying to do anything that, you know what I'm saying, to combat the crime. You know, the only thing that could stop some of this crime out here is healing. And healing comes from love, self-love, community love, collective love, you know, love for our neighbor. A lot of us, you know, don't really get a chance to experience love on a daily basis. And that's partly why we, you know what I'm saying, we running around here brokenhearted. I don't want to talk y'all to death, man. I'm going to just ask you, if you watch this video, man, you'll grab one of your loved ones, pick up a phone, one of your loved ones, in the comment section to one of your loved ones. You let them know you love them. Let them know you want them to be here with you. Let them know you want to be here with them. And let them know that you promise to do everything that you can to keep them by your side, man. Yo, this T Paris, this Peace Perspective. I love y'all, man. Toast to the town. Peace.